Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 44 of the Titanforge podcast. My name is Dratnos, joined by Tettles.
Hello, Dratnos. Hello, Squishei. How are you guys doing today?
Welcome, yes, joined also special guest Squishei from Wowhead.
Hello. Not necessarily just from Wowhead, also from Might of Zoljin. Just want to
from
shout that out there.
Same
From
guild
Toronto?
as Tettles.
Yeah,
Yes.
from Toronto as well.
I'm not from Toronto, but okay.
Canada?
And this week, Trell is not going to be joining us. Probably not next week, or some amount of time Trell's not going to be joining us, as he is very busy preparing for the MDI, and will be competing in that, hopefully, in the Cup next weekend, the North American Cup in 10 days. This weekend, though, is the East Cup, and the reason we're not going live on weekends is we don't want to be live at the same time as the MDI, since there's so much overlap there with our show, so we are going to be doing weekdays, probably Wednesdays, for the next 6 weeks. Not sure we're going to stick with this exact time slot. I think we're probably going to try and pull it back a little bit earlier than this. So that's kind of the plan going forward for the next little bit on our show here. Today, though, we are going to talk about Shadowlands. That's our main topic, not the MDI. So we've gotten a huge amount of information on Shadowlands in the past couple days, including some is being determined right now. A lot of it's being data mined and everything by the folks over at Wowhead, literally as we speak. And we will discuss those things during this show. Tettles, are you excited about what we've seen so far from Shadowlands?
I always try to err on the side of like neutral positive on decisions that are being made. Just generally, I don't like to get all up in a ruckus and get super upset over stuff being changed, because I would say generally it's for the better, even though sometimes they will make some pretty bad decisions. I think most of the time decisions are fairly good. So I like to give a positive look on everything. And then once I do actually see it or play it, then I'll give maybe a little more critical feedback.
Yeah, I think I'm also cautiously optimistic here about these things. Squishei, how about you? What do you think about what we've seen so far?
I think it's good to just take it with a grain of salt as well. I think you can be really excited for these, but it's really early alpha. Some things look super OP right now. Some specs like Feral got one line of text, and those specs might be getting more later down the road, so we'll have to see.
But the Havoc Demon Hunter only got one change. What do you possibly mean? That spec is definitely not going to be good if it only got one change.
Or Survival Hunter, who is literally just, we're making the abilities do more damage. Please donate us. So yeah, that's so we've got those class changes. We've also got Covenant abilities. All the Covenant abilities, not all of them, but all the ones that they have that are out of the work in progress stage, are announced now. So we have most of the Covenant abilities for most of the Covenants and classes, and that is a huge point of contention that we will, of course, talk about as part of our show here. But there's a lot of I'd say consternation on Twitter and among a lot of players about the prospect of these Covenant abilities. And if they're powerful enough that you're going to want, specific ones for certain cases, but difficult to switch between, whether that's going to incentivize us to play 4 characters of the same class rather than 4 characters of different classes, which is something that I am worried about. I'm worried about that incentive.
Hey, you want to click on that Imgur link that I have highlighted right now in our show notes and pull it up real quick, Dratnos?
Yes, I see it.
So this got data mined, what did you say, Squishei, 5 minutes ago?
No, like 2 hours ago. It was just hidden in a list of many things, but
yeah.
Man.
Dratnos, you have any opinions on that?
Yeah, so for our audio listeners, it is a new text file in the code that says, "Are you sure you wish to join this covenant? It is challenging to change this decision." I'm feeling like it might be, we might start seeing, this might be the expansion where people have alts of the same class rather than alts of different classes. And to me, that is, that's a shame. That would be a drawback of the expansion for sure, if that ends up being required. Or not required, but better.
It happened a bit in Legion when people with legendaries level 2 of the same class to RNG into the right legendary and then pick the one that got the better legendaries.
I got 2 movements. This is good news for me.
You need 2 more now.
Yeah, this is good for Tettles because it'll be the first time he'll have an alt that he knows how to play.
Wait, what did you just put me on blast?
But for many players, alter, it's more fun to play alts in different classes, right? So they'd rather not have the incentive be to play the same spec. So that is definitely worrying. You know, it's unlikely that you're going to need 4 characters. Like, it's unlikely that you're actually going to want to use 4 different Covenant abilities, but like 2 different ones, like 1 for PvP and 1 for Mythic Plus, 1 for raiding and 1 for Mythic Plus. Like, depending on which of these abilities they are, they're pretty different, and they look really strong, but situationally strong. Like, we'll talk about some specifics later, but I'm pretty spooked about this. I'm kind of worried that this is going to be the move.
Again, I'm not hot on the Covenant system yet, but maybe it will come around and we'll all enjoy it. But I don't know. I think we temper expectations as to what we've seen so far.
I think the abilities themselves are pretty cool. It's just
Yes.
they're tied in this weird way where you have to choose between utility and power versus cosmetics, and it's just not a good situation to be in right now, I think.
Yeah, players, like people who want to just pick, you know, whatever Covenant because they like the aesthetics of it best are going to be in for a bad time this expansion, because there's a 75% chance that's the wrong choice for whatever they want to play, right? Like whatever content they want to do.
There's also a piece missing here, because each Covenant also comes with Soulbinds.
Mhm.
They haven't really said much about them, but there's supposed to be some individual talent tree that you can choose, and each Covenant has 3 different Soulbinds or something. So, like, this is just the start. It's probably going to get a little worse.
Yes, that is definitely true. We'll take a look at the Soulbind system. I mean, there's a lot of people that are like, and don't forget about Soulbinds, but the thing is, they haven't told us like anything about it yet, about the Soulbind system. They haven't really previewed it for us, so we don't really know, like, are we going to want to have 2 characters of the same Covenant to have different Soulbind selections? What is that going to be something that is incentivized, or is it more just going to be that, like, okay, maybe you want to be this Covenant for the ability or this Covenant for the more optimal Soulbinds?
Take off your tinfoil hat, Dratnos.
I don't know. These are just possibilities. All I know is that depending on how challenging it is to change this decision is going to be a really important variable. So hopefully they get that right. And I'm worried about this. I'm worried about this as somebody who wants to play multiple classes and may end up just playing multiple Covenants instead. Okay, so that's going to be our main topic. We'll talk about a bit more about that. But first, let us thank our supporters over at Patreon.com. They are Paul of US Proudmoore, King of Skills, VTech XD, Zuko, Ja, Drunk Swede from Legion of Lemmings, Argent Dawn EU, I Wish I Was Dratnos' Dino Pillow, Tootsie, Heltari, Ishio, Blue of Emerald Dream, Chromed, Seraphicus, Trekkie, The Marshare, Regulus, Never Nude, Grizzjam, Chewy, Healers aren't real people, just like tanks, Melee DPS violate social distancing measures, especially on Quaking Weeks, Worgen Death is a paper tank, Root Dinosaur, and Ryten of the Guild on Terran Mill. Congrats on getting down Hive Mind to them.
For some reason, our patrons are now writing things with like being in a different order.
Yeah.
Anyways,
they're getting their little fun messages in there. That's allowed. If you support us on Patreon, we'll say whatever you want within reason. We've had to deny a couple of requests, but we accept most of them. All right, yeah. So that's our main topic this week is going to be the Covenant abilities and the class changes going into Shadowlands and some of the Datamine stuff. But first, let's do our tip of the week as well. So my tip of the week is there's an add-on that is particularly useful now and maybe even more useful in Shadowlands called OPIE, O-P-I-E, and this add-on will let you get ability wheels that you can keybind to certain things. So you may be running out of keybinds, and you may really run out of keybinds into Shadowlands. This is a great add-on for binding Flame Ward and Frost Ward to the same button, where you just press the button and then a wheel will show up and you can, click either of those buttons. It has world markers as well, so you can just press one bind and a radial wheel will open up that you can put all your world markers down on. You can have a bind for your consumables, for your talent swapping, for gear set swapping, for toys, or you can even bind rotational stuff as well. That's a little more sketchy, but you can actually make some of the binds like default press one thing, and then if you hold the button, it opens up the wheel. And that can be useful for, niche situations, like if you want to do some weird macros that are very situational. So this is a good way to just preserve your buttons, your keybinds, and fit more things into a small number of keybinds. People like Tettles really going to need this when they're playing Druid with 70,000 abilities next expansion.
Oh, thank God! I'm getting Cyclone. I'm getting. I'll get Ursul's Vortex as well. What else am I going to be getting? It's just like fucking Druid classes.
Yeah, you have you're getting all kinds of buttons like all Druid specs are getting.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Stampeding Roar, exactly. I'm getting Stampeding Roar too. It's just like, okay, yeah, cool. Got fucking bind everything. Yeah. I use Opie for potions and food though. Very nice.
I use it for food. Yeah, I don't use it for potions, but I should probably.
I just use it for world markers. That's the only thing I use it for, but that's all I need. But it's still amazing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you're a tank, so it's like using it for world markers makes a little bit more sense, right?
Fair enough.
Yeah, and target markers too. All right, Squishy, what is your tip of the week?
My tip of the week is to sign up for the Shadowlands Alpha. Gonna post the link in chat here. Make sure you opt in. I'm not sure if it's by default, but they did say the alpha is going to start this week, so make sure you get that done.
Yep, just worldofwarcraft.com/your region /Shadowlands #opt-in. That's the move. That's a good thing to do. Click that button. Click that beta opt-in.
Yeah, big.
Definitely recommend that. All right, Tettles, what is your clip of the week?
Oh, okay. So clip of the week, and not necessarily Shadowlands related. However, it is a interesting snap spot in a Tal'Dazar that allows you to not have Sanguine on the snap. So at the very back, like this is like the very beginning of the instance, you can actually kill the mobs on this little lip, and the Sanguine will actually drop above the mobs. So you good, Squishy?
It doesn't make any sense, man.
Yeah, this is wild.
No sense whatsoever.
No, this game doesn't make sense.
That is a wild spot. Very cool though.
The real question is, will this prevent my tank from falling off the lip? And the answer is absolutely.
That's good. I fall off that thing all the time. All the time when I'm trying to snap stuff. I'm down in Razan's room.
Same. Considering I'm Tettles' tank and he's flaming me, so.
Hey, he falls in the pit, man. I don't know what to say.
All right. So back to Shadowlands discussion. So they announced that alpha invites would be going out soon. TM, very soon. Not actually. I think they said soon, not TM at the bottom. Yeah, soon, no TM in Shadowlands. So I assume that means in the coming days we'll be seeing Shadowlands alpha coming out, especially now that there's data mineable builds of it available. So we have the Covenant abilities preview. Let's start there. And we can start by talking about all four. So all four Covenants are going to get an ability just that's class agnostic, and then an ability based on your class Covenant combo. So let's talk about the Covenant signature abilities first. So we have the Kyrian one, which summons a steward that in addition to like a once per day useful amenities thing, which I assume that's going to be like mailbox and stuff, is also got the ability to give you a Vial of Serenity that restores health and removes all curse, disease, poison, and bleed effects. So this is stone form power level on the Kyrian racial here.
Oh, thank God, we're getting more racial options.
Well, I think that this is a fine power level for the Covenant signature ability, right?
Let's think this through. Whenever you have to pick between racial power level versus like significant damage increase power level, it's not even fair, right?
I think this would be a really cool ability if it wasn't tied to the Kyrian. If you know,
Sure.
we're doing Temple of Sethralus now, and you're like, I don't have a poison to spell. Let me take this ability so I can cleanse myself when I get 5 spits on me. I think that'd be really cool. But unfortunately, it's tied to other things.
Right, yeah, so you're saying it's unlikely that you would choose the Kyrian based on this, and it's much more likely you'd pick based on the class-specific Covenant abilities?
Probably, yeah.
Unless you're doing something weird with one of the other ones. I mean, maybe... Okay, so the Kyrian specifically is probably not one to be picked like this. You can go ahead and read the...
Yeah, the Venthyr one. Door of Shadows. Went through the shadows appearing at the targeted location. So it's like a targeted teleport. That's powerful. That's a strong ability.
And that one may be picked based off of purely like that utility from there.
If you're not giving up much on your class class covenant ability, right?
Sure, exactly. If you're not literally just losing thousands of DPS or whatever.
Yeah, I could see this for like stealthers and Mythic Plus as well. Like your druid and stealth or whatever is Venthyr, and teleports past a pack, and then your group dies and they res them or whatever.
Or like, can you imagine if you can teleport past true sight mobs?
Yeah, or actually just the group is either all stealthers or Venthyr, and you can get past most packs by using either stealth or Venthyr ability.
Yep, exactly.
That seems really strong for Mythic Plus uses there.
PvP too, probably, right?
Yeah, I think this had a cast time when we saw them preview, or when I saw a little clip of a Venthyr, not actually like in game, but like I saw one of them channeling this thing in a cinematic, and it looked like it was casting for a couple seconds, and then they teleported away. But I'm not sure if that was actually this ability or just some kind of flavor thing or some mob doing that.
Did they remove the Shaman leap because it was too similar to Blink? And then they give everyone Blink? Wasn't that it? No, they were Displacer. Sorry, they removed Displacer.
They removed Displacer Beast. Yeah.
Because it was too close to Blink.
They're trolling.
Everybody
They're trolling by removing Displacer Beast, by the way. That actually kind of tilted me.
The pendulum is swinging towards everybody getting stuff again. This is how the pendulum works. The pendulum is everybody has abilities, and then they take them away from everybody, and then they bring them back, and then they take them away every couple expansions. The pendulum swings the other direction. That's how this works. Yes. So Necrot Lord are getting a shield equal to a portion of your max health, and if you cast it near a corpse, you get a bigger shield. If this is a large enough shield, this could be an extra health potion or whatever for Necrot Lord.
Yeah, it's like a tank one. Well, I mean, it's like...
Is it just a tank one? Like, if you're playing Necrolords, you're not getting one-shot by, Tantrum or whatever. You're not dying on Tantrum.
You know what? That's a good call, actually.
It's Engie Belt, kind of, in a way. Like,
it depends on the size of the shield, right?
People won't. Yeah.
Like, if the shield size is 50% of your max health, then this is, this is a different thing that we're talking about.
The shield size is 50% of my maximum health, and I don't need a healer.
Well, yeah, the question is, what power level are they going to hit with this? Like, to compete with teleport targeting a location? It's got to be a pretty big shield.
That's true.
I don't know. And then the Night Fae are getting a turn into an increased movement speed form, and then you can reactivate it to teleport a short distance forward. Short distance here being a important thing to have a number for. If that's 30 yards, that's a different thing than 5 yards.
I think it's probably a 5-yarder.
Yeah, that could still be useful.
Probably decent for tanks pulling trash packs. Like, if you can forego using like a Sky Step or a Lightfoot Potion by using that, it's probably not bad.
Depends if it's off the GCD too, I think. Because if you can just suddenly blink out of a mechanic real quick, even if you're casting something, like...
Oh, true.
If it's like Shimmer? Yeah. I would be surprised if it behaved that way.
I know, but that kind of thing.
Yeah. My expectation is that if there's... Like, this is something like Goblin Racial, where if you're playing something like a Priest or a DK that doesn't have, like, mobility abilities, this kind of thing can be really powerful for
if we go back to Neltharion's lair and you have to do enormous pulls where you would chain Lightfoot Potion into the racial.
Okay. Yeah.
So what you're saying is when we get another Kill Jaden,
yes,
everybody has to be Night Fae.
Right. Well, if they made Kill Jaden, you would need to be a Night Fae or a Goblin or a class that had a teleport of some kind, right? Like, this is an ability that fits that space of ability that saves you from Kill Jaden.
Do you think that's why they're doing this, to like open up design space?
It doesn't though. It doesn't open up design space if we're obligated to play one.
If you're locked in, well, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, if you're obligated to play it and you are like stuck, like if you're locked in, like they say that you're going to be, it doesn't open up design space, right?
Yeah, it's not giving us a choice, right? It's just like randomly you're gonna have an answer to some stuff, or you're gonna need to play multiple different covenants of the same class to actually be able to choose between them based on the fight. In which case, that sounds miserable. Especially for guilds like Method and Limit in particular. Like, I do not envy the people who are gonna be. I'm sure that they're getting ready to be leveling 4 of their main spec or main class and playing all 4 covenants instead of like different class alts. Which for some of them kind of do that already, but I'm not sure it's good. I'm not sure it's a good thing. I think that what's even more worrying though is that like world top 10, world top 100 guilds that require like one alt, that's going to be an alt for the same class, very possibly with the system like this.
So you see, what if I'm just not making it all. I'm committing to that. That's
if you're, I mean, I'm sure you're going to be fine without doing that, you know. But you know, depending on the level you're playing at, like you can probably just safely pick whatever you think is going to be best for Mythic Plus and like survive in raid and be fine. But I don't know. People that are like trying to be optimal for everything, it's gonna be a challenge because, and here's the main thing: the Covenant class abilities are so strong and situational. So we can look at, for instance, Warrior. I think is a really good example of this. So if you're a Kyrian Warrior, you can throw a spear at a location, deals damage, dealing additional damage over time, generating rage, and the enemies that are hit are tethered for a duration to that location. This is like Binding Shot.
Is that like Binding Shot? Okay.
Very, very powerful ability in a Mythic Plus setting that has pretty low utility on most raid fights, right? Like it's not a big deal to have access to this. Whereas in a raid fight, Venthyr warriors get Condemn, which replaces Execute, works above 80 or below 20% health, and you know, depending on the damage tuning on this, is very likely to be the best single target damage choice of these.
Or what if you have a fight that sits at like Unbound Abomination? What if you have Unbound Abomination as like a raid boss, and that boss sits above 80% for forever?
It's very likely that you're going to have, you know, one set of cooldowns above 80% health, one set of cooldowns below 20% health. An ability like this that has those as damage bonus ranges is very likely to be to do better than it, you know, the numbers would suggest at first as well. So yeah, I mean, so one possible way that you wouldn't need to have a Venthyr Warrior for raid is like if this ability is just undertuned, in which case, okay. But like if these abilities are both strong, it's hard for me to imagine not wanting to be Venthyr for raid and not wanting to be Kyrian for Mythic Plus as a warrior.
Yeah. I mean, okay, you go ahead. Sorry.
I was gonna say, what if they bring another fight like Unat, where blinks, you just blink through the beams? Now warrior might want to consider the Venthyr for the blink as well. Like you have all these possibilities, and it's just like. Crazy.
Exactly. Do you like? It's impossible to min max this. Is more or less the point. And
well, yeah, it's
for many expansions, your choices did not matter as much on like a personal level in terms of like what gear you're wearing. Very infrequently do your talents matter on like a larger scale. I mean, I'm sure they matter somewhat, but like on a larger scale, they don't really matter to whether or not you're going to be successful. But for this, these look like very large swings. And they are catered to different styles of content. And when they say that you should not be changing them very frequently, that makes many players concerned. Because, like, can you imagine if you were locked into a specific essence for prolonged periods of time? Or actually, even better yet, better example. We saw this already with Azerite. And they gave us the reforging system and said it's going to be increasing in gold very quickly. And you only lower the gold cost every 3 days. And then we saw them immediately backtrack one patch later because everybody was over 100,000 gold reforge costs because it's just not a reasonable expectation.
Yeah, like if that didn't exist, you know, would you just roll up two different characters so you could get, you know, you could have one character with your AoE Azerite and one character with your single target Azerite?
I mean, maybe. To me, having multiple characters of the same class is like a systematic failure.
Yeah, I agree. I think that if that's incentivized is like you said it's impossible to min-max the system. What you mean is that like it's impossible to make the right choice for, you know, the game that you want to play, right? Like it's the way to min-max it is to have multiple characters of the same class.
Yep.
Actually, yeah.
And that is, I agree, a failure if that ends up being true.
Like along Tettles' essence point, it feels like if you changed essences, you needed to regrind the entire essence over again from scratch. Like that's what this system kind of feels like. If you're like, all right, I'm playing my rogue, I'm playing Blood of the Enemy for Mythic Plus, and now I'm going to raid and I want CLF. Well, the next time it goes Blood of the Enemy, I have to regrind it again. Like that's what it feels like. It's just not fun for somebody who just wants to play the game.
And again, we don't know what what it is challenging to change this decision means. Like, is this an hour-long grind? If it's an hour-long quest chain to switch your covenant, and you bring over all your progress or whatever, okay, I can live with that. I won't have multiple characters of the same class.
That sucks,
right?
I mean, it sucks, but it's less bad than you would initially think.
Like, I'm gonna probably push back a little bit against that, but at the end of the day, like, I'll probably just change a couple times during progression for a couple different boss fights, and I'll be fine with that, actually. Like, that would feel fine to me, but I'm worried this is, like, a 12-hour quest line, or a quest line of maybe 1 hour length, but you restart your whole progression into the new covenant, and it takes you a couple weeks to catch back up on Soulbinds or whatever.
I mean, we saw what they did with Azerite. Like they did the reforge thing. They were like, we don't want you reforging very frequently, and it's like, dude, that is just not the game we were playing. We are not playing that game.
Right. So that is to me the most worrying part about this, because these abilities look cool and powerful, and it looks like I'm gonna want some of them. And if I want any of these abilities for specific stuff, then my answer to have them, I hope it's not to have multiple characters of the same class, because that's not like I have a lot of fun playing alts in this game because they're different classes.
I mean, like, what's the point?
Yeah. So
like okay, so let's like think about it for a second. Like, what actually is the point for them to do it like this?
Well, they want you to have a decision that matters when you make it, right? Like, they want you to choose Kyrian and have that be something that impacts your gameplay, and you feel, you progress through the Kyrian system, and you're a Kyrian, you have all the cool Kyrian stuff, and you can look at other people and be like, I have something they don't have because I picked Kyrian, right?
They want you to tweet it, basically. I'm a Kyrian.
Right, they want it to be like picking between Alliance and Horde was in vanilla, right? Like, where it's like, this is an important choice, right? They want it to be that scale of choice, I think.
Interesting. Well, hey Squishy, so what would you think as my raid leader if I picked what was good for Mythic Plus only? It's like so shitty, right?
I mean, it
depends on how important it is, right? Like,
yeah.
If it's like
are we looking for damage? Are we looking for the utility? I mean, it's really hard to tell, but just like just being like, well, Tettles isn't optimal for the fight. Like,
exactly.
The other Boom Kid? I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. It's like so stupid.
Mm-hmm.
I do want to point out there's the Priest Venthyr ability. If you could look at that, Tranos.
Sure. Yeah. Priest. Whoa. Priest is another great example of this. Yeah.
The Venthyr one in particular, I think, is pretty crazy. It assaulted enemies' mind, dealing shadow damage and briefly reversing their perception of reality. For a period of time, the next damage they deal will heal their target, and the next healing they do will damage their target. So, if this works on bosses, that's going to be pretty insane.
I would be shocked if this didn't have like a maximum amount of damage that it
right.
converted. If it didn't, though, yeah, you just target, you target one of the Thought Harvesters doing its Harvest Thought cast, and like one of them would damage your raid and the other one would heal your raid back up, and you just would not need to use any cooldowns on it. It would be like wild.
I mean, I was thinking just like Evoke Anguish. All right, guys, Evoke 3. All right, Nazoth healed the raid.
Yeah, it's a hot on everybody. Yeah, I would own.
Yeah, it doesn't.
I would be shocked if this wasn't capped to like the Priest's maximum health or whatever in terms of total amount of damage it'll affect.
I assumed it was just gonna be a hot, personally.
Well, I think reversing their perception of reality means that like the damage would instead heal, or the healing would instead damage. But
exactly, but
I assume this is just going to have code to make it not work on high numbers.
But okay, so take a boss that heals, right? It would reverse. So if they're healing a target for like 80% health, like take Dark Reconstitution for Hive Mind.
Right.
That would damage them for 50% health. Like that seems ridiculous.
But so if what I think it'll do is I think it'll be capped on like it will affect at most the Priest maximum health of damage or healing.
Well,
yeah, okay, that makes sense.
Okay, so what about debuffs or things that are going to like massive overkill you or something like that? Can it completely negate something like that? Is it like an effective immunity?
Right, that's what I'm saying, is that it'll affect at most the Priest's maximum health of stuff. So if something is damaging you for 3 million and your health is 300k or whatever, it'll instead damage you for 2.4 million because 300k will get converted to healing. And so you'd still die. That's how I assume this is going to end up being implemented, because they usually have those kind of overkill protections or whatever. If not, then this will be super duper broken, and you'll bring all your priests will have to be Venthyr.
Exactly.
And you'll stack Venthyr priests because you could just depending on what the cooldown is on this ability, you could just have 20 priests, and just if a boss just swings once every 3 seconds and the cooldown of this is 30 seconds, you could just make all their auto attacks heal the target by alternating Mind Games casts. So I assume it's not going to work that way.
I think the biggest thing with the Covenants, though, is just there's a lot of cool stuff here. Like, a lot of cool stuff. And if this was just an extra talent row, people would be so happy. People have wanted an extra talent row for so long. But instead, we have this weird, like, I have to choose, this comes with this, and choose between cosmetics and looking cool. and that it kind of, I feel like, has ruined the system for a couple people already.
Right, because when we're looking at these, we're not seeing which cool thing am I going to get. We're seeing which 3 abilities am I never going to be able to use unless I just roll up another rogue, like 2 rogues or 3 rogues. And
yeah, exactly.
It's not about getting one of these things. It's about knowing that we're locked out of having the other ones.
It doesn't feel like a choice.
Right. It feels like we're going to have to make we've got a gun to our head here, and we're making a choice that like is the least bad. We're trying to give up the least rather than trying to get the coolest thing.
Well, I think there's also too many like aspects of the game. Like if you want to play multiple at not even just like a high level, at like a moderate level, it's like you are going to be sacrificing a lot.
Yeah, like I mean, mind games. If this is something that's useful in a raid fight, it's going to be very useful, right? And like if you're trying to play a priest of one of the other covenants for the other cool abilities, you're gonna be way behind in raid or whatever. Or I mean, I assume this would be pretty good in PvP as well. Like your mage is casting greater pyroblast on you, and you just mind games them. Like, oh, thank you, thanks for the greater heal.
Can you lay on hands a paladin and just insta kills them?
Oh, that happened to me on Raw Den Reclear this week. Our paladin just lay on hands to me with corrupted existence. Yeah. So
that would be a great play. Great play.
So yeah, I it's tough because I like Tettles. I'm generally positive about most changes when I first see them. I reading through these abilities, a lot of these look really cool. Like the Paladin, the Kyrian Paladin ability is awesome, instantly casting Holy Shock, Avenger Shield, Judgment on several targets within range. But I can't escape this worry about what incentives are being created here.
One last word before we move on. I don't think any of us are down on like what is actually being offered. I think all of the abilities themselves are like generally pretty cool. I think we're generally down on the system. We think that the system is flawed because of how challenging it will be to be able to reroll from what we have heard and what was announced at BlizzCon, what has been reiterated on a couple of times. Of course, we're going to see probably later this week whenever the alpha is released, but from what we've seen currently, it's gonna be rough.
They are literally offering everybody a blink. Like if it was just, hey guys, you have a choice between a blink and some other movement ability, people would be ecstatic.
Right?
But
yeah.
That's not exactly what they're offering, as Dranos has said in the past.
And you're kind of being offered a package of like, okay, here's the Soulbinds plus the class ability plus the Covenant base ability, and you have to kind of look at these 4 packages and decide, all right, which one of these is going to be the best for me, and if I want to push keys and raid and PvP, which of those priorities am I willing to be suboptimal in?
Well, some of them are going to be mandatory for strategies of fights.
Probably, yeah.
Ultimately, they will be mandatory. Not necessarily mandatory, but they will be almost mandatory.
Like for people going for cutting edge, or even people maybe going for ahead of the curve. I don't know how low this is going to reach down. I do know though that when they make a system like this, it trickles down lower than it, theoretically should. Like lower than the level where you actually are required to have certain abilities for a class. People are going to try and be optimal lower than that.
Yeah, and how many guilds need to kill N'Zoth with 10 immunities? Like realistically, how many guilds need to kill N'Zoth with 10 immunities? Well, how many guilds are going to kill N'Zoth with 10 immunities?
To be fair, it is really painful to deal with that overlap without immunities on that Harvest Thoughts, like soaking that and then evoking Paranoia or whatever.
Of course it is.
And that. Like that requires a level of execution that the guilds, at that level don't have, right? Like that's part of the problem with the N'Zoth thing in particular. But you have somebody applying to your group. This is part of the reason why it's so hard to get invited as off-meta specs to Mythic Plus, is because you show up doing something suboptimal. Like why are people going to invite you when you're doing something known to be suboptimal? Given that they could just pick somebody who has not chosen to do that. Like all the information they have about you when you apply presumably is going to be like your class and your covenant. Why would they pick somebody who's picked the ones that are not best suited to the situation, right?
There's also some really niche ones. If you go to Hunter Kyrian, this ability is either going to be completely useless or a meta-defining on the fight. The effect causes your attacks to ignore line of sight to enemies in the area and even increase critical strike chance against them. There might be some weird fight. They love their line of sight mechanics recently where you're going to be blocked off and your hunters are just going to be pummeling right through them.
I got it. You send the BM Hunter pets on Carapace of N'Zoth, and you just pound the boss while you're still on the ramp.
Dude, it's like immune to damage or something during that phase, I think.
No, he's not immune to damage. He's not immune to damage. If you jump, like if you like look at him, he decreases your sanity. That's the problem with Carapace.
Okay. Demon Hunters also have the Hunt Night Fae ability, which is a pretty similar space here. Charge an enemy, inflicting damage and rooting them, and then you can reactivate it every 30 seconds to teleport behind them, ignoring line of sight. Like, it's easy to imagine wanting that ability for that context as well, right?
Yeah,
like,
and I mean, last point I want to make before we move on. What are you supposed to do if your class has multiple like roles, like Paladin?
Oh no!
What if you want to tank and DPS?
I have exactly. I'm a druid with a tank, a healer, and multiple DPS roles. What the fuck, bro? Like, how am I supposed to make a decision here?
At least Azerite, you could eventually get enough Azerite to just not swap. But this is like, are they going to do it the tier set way where it auto swaps per roll, or are you just going to be screwed on your off specs?
Yeah, whatever. All right, let's we got to move on.
Yeah, Tettles is just like, all right, yeah, I guess I'm playing Feral for this boss because I'm Venthyr on Ferals, and we need Venthyr for this fight. All right. Okay, let's advance to talking about the class changes as well. So we've received a preliminary list of changes to the classes. Here's the Wowhead post of that. This is a there's obviously a lot that's still going in here, but classes are getting a lot of baseline abilities back. For instance, Death Knight, all specs are getting Death and Decay, which 2 of the 3 specs already had. Anti-Magic Zone, which was a PvP talent, and is extremely strong, by the way, Anti-Magic Zone. If this makes it in at the 60% damage reduction level, Death Knights are going to be stacked for raid.
AMZ got removed in patch 6.2 of Warlords of Draenor with Aspect of the Fox and what was the mage ability?
Amp Magic.
Amp Magic, yeah, it got removed with Amp Magic and Aspect of the Fox. So I'm kind of surprised that we're actually seeing that one. That one's pretty OP.
You have stuff like Darkness that exists. I don't think it's that out of the question.
Darkness is 20% DR, Anti-Magic Zone is 60%.
Well, okay, I don't think they're going to bring it at 60%.
Yeah, if it comes back at 20, then we're okay. You know, if it comes back at 30, we're probably okay. But 60...
we have DK Barrier and we have Priest Barrier.
And DK Barrier is 3 times better or whatever. That'd be wild.
All raid damage is now physical.
Yeah. Could you imagine?
Wait, hold on. Invite. Moonkin.
Could you imagine having Anti-Magic Zone in the 60% state on like N'Zoth? You just stack your anguishes or whatever. 3 people can stack up and drop an anguish on each other in an AMZ, and you're fine. You don't use any of the room.
Sis is saying something in chat about Gorfien's Grasp. I'm kind of surprised, kind of glad that DKs aren't all getting Gorfien's Grasp back. That was kind of OP. That was meta defining, rather. Yeah,
that was definitely a very, very strong ability that DK got. I feel like AMZ though is going to be enough utility for DK to be good, depending on how they balance it. Of course, we know the ability is coming back. We know roughly what it does. We don't know the numbers. The numbers are hugely important for most of these abilities. Let's see. Other than that, Frost is getting to be one-handed or two-handed again. Unholy's getting Summon Gargoyle baseline, and Magus the Dead is kind of getting added into their baseline. But we're not going to spend too long. I guess we can talk a little bit about this Frost talent. Hypothermic Presence, halving the runic power cost of abilities for some time. That's going to be really good if it's not mutually exclusive with Breath of Syndragosa.
So. I was going to say, does that work with Breath, like for the full duration?
I feel like it probably will.
It says moderate amount of time, which makes me it leads me to believe that it'll probably also work with Breath for a moderate amount of the breath.
Yeah, I mean, if this is on like the same row as Breath, you're just never gonna take it though, because
shame.
Yeah, but I don't know what row it's on. We don't know.
What that means is that they're not what all of this means is that they're not straight up reworking all the talent systems yet.
Rune Tap also going back baseline for Blood Decay. Love to see that. That's a nice ability that's going to really help their survivability.
When was it baseline? Because it wasn't baseline in Legion.
Yeah, but in Legion you could pick it. In Legion you weren't trolling by selecting it.
So it was on.
That's what I was thinking.
I mean, you're kind of trolling by picking it, but it wasn't like as bad.
Well, you did it for some dungeons though, whereas you can't really take it if you're trolling in BFA.
I agree.
But yeah, I don't think it was a baseline.
Very good baseline. That is very good baseline ability that allows Death Knights to not actually just get one shot 100 to 0 randomly.
DH is getting. Oh, good.
I was gonna say it's usually really short duration, so it only lasts for like
2 seconds.
One swing. It was very 2 or 3. I remember using it for Argus Scythe, and if you delayed a Scythe, it would just miss the window. That was bad.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, it's a good ability, especially. I mean, if it's baseline, it's okay.
Yeah.
You don't have to give up anything for. It's like 40% DR, right?
Yeah, for 3 seconds or something. But we don't know what state it's going to make it in, if it's going to get changed going into Shadowlands here.
Sure.
DH getting close to no changes for Havoc. Immora going baseline. They already talented it a lot of the time. They got a passive that gives them some more fury. And Essence Break is replacing Dark Slash. Dark Slash, a much beloved talent that was never good.
What is that talent?
I don't know what it does.
Yeah,
I have Essence... I don't know what it is.
It was like a damage dealing thing that made your Chaos Strike hit harder for a while. And now Essence Break is also going to affect your Blade Dance. And is the same kind of idea. Vengeance is getting a demonic playstyle where instead of I-Beam, it'll be Fell Devastation that turns him into a demon. Cool.
I don't hate that.
Yeah,
I think it's really cool.
I think that's cool as well. I think that the Havoc feeling of I-Beaming and turning into a demon is something that Vengeance will be cool to have as well.
Straight up, I think they fucked up. I think Havoc should have been the tank and Vengeance should have been the DPS, but...
You mean like just which word should have been associated
with
which?
No. Like a playstyle.
Okay.
How Blade Dance functions. How like...
Dude, Blade Dance as an actual tank would be so
exactly.
OP.
Blade Dance is the best tank ability in the game.
Well, like how the demonic I-Beam works, and then how Blade Dance ends up working.
You just couldn't make any boss tank busters dodgeable, or else.
Bro, we have Monk.
Yeah, we do already have Monk.
Yeah, but you couldn't. You just would one tank.
Okay. So say it's 8. Okay, Havoc, Demon Hunter, Blade Dance baseline is 8 seconds. Monk dodges once every 8 seconds.
Yeah, but Monk can reliably dodge some stuff-ish, but...
Okay, sure.
Havoc DH could reliably dodge 100% of every Mind Rat cast or whatever on N'Zoth, although you would need a second tank there.
I mean, you get what I'm saying, though, right?
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like Blade Dance is kind of cool to have that tanky component because it's not on a tank spec, but...
I think that more leads to tank busters shouldn't be dodgeable when it has a debuff attached to it.
Yeah, that's what I think. At least the debuff component should not be dodgeable.
Yeah.
Druid is getting Ferocious Bite, Barkskin, Cyclone, Stampeding Roar, and Iron for baseline. And Heart of the Wild is going to be a new talent that is returning that basically makes your off roll, like when you're in your other forms than your main roll, you're a little stronger. Balance changes. All right, Tettles, what's the TLDR of what's happening to balance here?
Resource rework. Again, getting the Eclipse Bar back. Old Starfall's returning where you probably won't pull shit. It'll probably only hit mobs that are dotted, if I had to suspect. But basically, just the Eclipse Bar is coming back. It looks like a watered down version of the Mist of Pandaria one, but it still is probably going to be pretty decent. I don't know. I'm cautiously optimistic. There are a lot of people who are upset about the Eclipse Bar coming back. I'm not super upset about it, but we'll see. The Stampeding Roar thing being baseline is pretty fucking sick, though. There was also something about affinities on there, but I don't know where the affinities are.
Yes. There was one where it was basically like Typhoon, Vortex, Incap, Roar, and Maim are going to be affinity abilities as well.
Exactly. So Balance will have Typhoon as their affinity ability. Restoration will have Ursul's Vortex as their affinity ability. Guardian will have Incapacitating Roar as their affinity ability, and Fair will have Maim as their affinity ability. And Moonkin will basically always pick Resto because Ursul's Vortex and Typhoon is really good. I think it makes Resto Druid Healer in Mythic Plus significantly worse because they really want to play Cat Affinity for damage, but they also really want Typhoon.
Yeah, I imagine they're going to end up playing Balance Affinity for Typhoon, and then, maybe Balance Affinity will do some damage. I don't know. Maybe they'll be able to... Like, these things change from expansion to expansion. Could be.
Sure.
Tettles, I have a question. Are you excited about Heart of the Wild?
Well, people talk... they have rose-tinted glasses about Heart of the Wild, and I'm pretty sure they only have rose-tinted glasses about Heart of the Wild because Tranquility existed for Moonkin. For me, Heart of the Wild has never done anything. Like, I don't understand its point, especially in the current state of the game. I mean, maybe Heart of the Wild will be like super sick again. It's probably going to be good for Resto Druids doing damage, though. I suspect that's what it's for.
Quick thing for Druid as well, you're getting Symbiosis, sort of, as a Covenant ability if you go Kyrian.
I did see that. I don't know how I think about that.
Yeah, so you can get an effect based on your partner's roll, and they get an effect based on your roll.
Okay, so hear me out. Okay, so if the Kyrian one for for Druid is Symbiosis and it's only utility abilities, and the other ones on that row are like fucking mega damage abilities, again, it's like one of those things. It's why do I pick the utility one? That sucks.
Yeah, it's gonna be
not fun.
Like, there's a good chance that for each of these classes, you're gonna see one Covenant in like high end rating, and then like the other stuff, you're just not actually gonna see very much.
Well, I mean I bet the Symbiosis one is going to be OP for some things, very niche situations.
So I'm imagining a world where like Tettles finishes progression on one boss, and the next boss is a Kindred Spirit boss, and everybody else goes to bed, and Tettles is now doing 12 hours of questing to switch his Covenant.
Or if the Kindred Spirit one is like, I'm stealing damage abilities, then in which case it's like, can you imagine if I stole fucking DPS cooldown?
Yeah,
stole Metamorphosis or something. Yeah, Combustion or Metamorphosis or something stupid.
Well, it's based on roll though, not spec this time. It looks like, so it'll probably be something more watered down.
Oh, great! I'm gonna steal Shimmer, or I'm gonna steal Ice Block.
Well, it says roll, so not even class, right? So there might just be like a damage ability that you get if you use it on a damage dealer, and
Never
they
mind,
get one if you're a damage roll. I'm not sure.
If it's roll based,
cool. It could be cool flexibility if you need a damage reduction, or Tettles can steal the damage reduction to get hit by the bird on freehold.
Don't do me like that.
Yeah, Tettles is gonna have to go Guardian Affinity. At least he'll get Incap Roar, but he needs to bear form that.
I would like actually, as long as you can stay in balance form, Incap Roar would probably be pretty sick for some things too.
Yeah, it's like Dragon's Breath.
Yeah, blind. It's a melee blind, but yeah.
Like Dragon's Breath, yeah.
Like Dragon's Breath, yeah.
All right, Hunter getting a bunch of abilities baseline, including Kill Shot, which is an execute, and stable size is going up. Poggy Woggies.
Okay, so wow, what a change!
Yeah, that's good news.
You have collectors out there that want to collect all those rare pets.
True. A couple other changes coming in here. My favorite, actually, of these is BM Hunter is getting a talent that tracks how many Cobra shots you cast during your Bestial Wrath, and then you get a Cobra based on how many of that does more damage based off of how many you got in. I like that kind of playstyle. That's one of my favorite things, actually, is building up like a demonic tyrant or whatever.
Is that a meme? Are you talking about BM Hunter? So you have to say it like Moose would say it, Bestial Wrath?
Big Yuling.
The comment, the alternative to Bestial Wrath is Bestial Wrath.
Whatever. I'm sure both are fine. Marksmanship going back to volley. Unfortunately, we still see the 5 additional targets text here, so poor old marksmanship not going to be able to AoE still.
Welcome to the game we live in, where some classes just have uncapped AoE and some just don't.
Yep. Well, at least BM exists for Hunter and can do uncapped AoE.
Is that really like a fair expectation? Like, okay, whatever. Maybe that's stupid of me to expect every spec to not have either to be capped or uncapped.
This is an expansion where you're more likely to be a 1 spec pony as well, because you're more likely to have picked the best Covenant for your spec rather than for so like you'll be less efficient as the other specs than this expansion, where at least once your Azurite was okay, and if you could reforge it, you could do both specs efficiently.
Yeah.
Mages are getting Alter Time, so that's cool. Alter Time is coming back, where you activate this and it like snapshots your location, health, and mana, and then you can activate it again, or just a couple seconds later, you'll teleport back to that.
I've killed myself with that ability before on Thok. I snapshotted myself right after a hit came, and re-snapshotted myself to Pyro again right before the second hit came.
Oh no!
Was a bad snapshot. For what it is, though, it looks like they removed the buffs, though, right? Like that's why you used it before.
Yes, it's just going to be health, mana, and location now, so it's kind of more like Temporal Shield.
Yeah,
that seems bad.
Might be good for Arcane Mage in particular, though. If them at least the mana is a useful resource to snapshot.
Well, I mean, I'm sure it's going to be good for some things. Yeah, like you said, Temp Shield, but.
Doesn't Arcane still have that displacement thing where you
Yes.
can like teleport back? So you can now shimmer, 2 shimmers, a displacement, and now Alter Time. You'll be everywhere in that spec.
I am no longer PvPing ever again.
And then you take Venthyr for a 5th blink. You have 5 blink mages.
Can you fuck off?
Well, and then you go High Mountain as well for
They can't be
Bull
high.
Rush.
They can't. No. They go
Void Elf.
Void Elf.
Void Elf.
Void Elf.
Yeah.
Yeah. Void Elf. Exactly. That's
Yeah.
Nightborn.
6 blink mages. There you go.
What else we got going on here? Ignite is now spreading on your Fire Blast rather than
Good.
just randomly.
Good.
That seems like a buff to me for a spec that maybe they'll
That's-
change some numbers, but one of the big things that could go wrong for Fire would be your Ignite could just not spread, and now that seems like it's not a possibility anymore.
Oh, okay. I mean, overall, this is probably going to make Fire significantly worse. Overall, it's going to make it feel worse, rather.
What do you
because
mean?
all of your
Ignite
damage is
just
going to
spreads automatically now.
all of your damage is tied to Fire Blast, though.
You already press Fire Blast every couple seconds. To me, this text just reads Ignite spreads automatically. Ignite is a guaranteed to spread instead of not guaranteed anymore to spread.
I mean, if you remove all the Fire Mage systems of this expansion, so no bracers, no. I mean, it depends what talent you take in that Fire Blast row too.
Memory.
No memory, lucid dreams. Like,
yeah.
Are you Fire Blasting? I don't think you'll be Fire Blasting nearly as often. You'll still be Fire Blasting decently often.
You still have 3 charges of it, so in
Yeah.
any AoE spot, you can always commit 1 to spread your Ignite.
Yeah, I think that's fair. But the last time they did this was in BRF with Fire Blasting spreading Ignite, and that caused some serious issues. I don't know if you remember that.
What happened?
There was a bug that I don't remember exactly what to do. It was on 2 targets. You had to Fire Blast 1 target, and then Fire Blast the other target, which would spread the Ignite back to the first target and create the biggest Ignite, and then you would snapshot that big Ignite with Combustion, and you would do mega damage. There was some weird Ignite, but I don't know how it worked. I was a mage back then, but it was ridiculous, and I think that's the reason that they removed and moved to the new Ignite.
Interesting, yeah. We'll have to see. We'll have to see if they manage to fix that one. Nice to see Pyroclasm also getting buffed here. That's the Legion Bracers effect that was not really picked this expansion. But yeah, Frost here has some... Frost has a line of text here that worries me. So Winter's Chill is now a longer debuff, causes your next 2 spells to treat the target as frozen. So instead of having to do this thing where you blink forward to make it so that you can get 2 spells in the Winter's Chill. And it's a debuff that increases the critical hit chance from the Frost Mage and their allies against the target.
I hate this. What?
We're classic now. We're classic.
The Frost Mage and their allies.
We be buff stacking now, boys.
Excuse
man.
me?
Yo, okay, so I need the okay, they didn't mention anything about Chaos Brand, and they didn't mention anything about the Windwalker Monk debuff, but for some reason they're giving Frost this bullshit, so we're really out here.
I mean, am I stacking Priests for Mind Games? Am I stacking DKs for AMZ? Or am I stacking Frost Mages for this? I don't know. What am I stacking? It's gonna be something, maybe.
You're stacking Moonkids for all the utility.
How do you sim that?
X.
Tell us, how do you sim based on the number of Frost Mages in your raid for debuff uptime?
I'm sure that the raid bots will just have a slider that says Frost Mages in raid.
There would be there's diminishing returns, right?
Yeah.
So are they going to be able to double IL in that window too? I wonder.
Well, the goal is that 2 Ice Lances are affected by Winter's Chill no matter what, rather than having to do the blink thing.
Oh, okay. So yeah. Okay, never mind. Yeah, I see what you're saying.
Monk is getting Touch of Death back for everybody, and it's working the way it used to, where it just kills everything below their health. And then it also has a special effect for each spec. So Brewmaster, it clears your stagger. Windwalker, it makes some cheese spheres. And Mistweaver, it makes some healing spheres whenever it goes off.
Okay, so that's going to be kind of sick if you game it in Mythic Plus. Imagine you're doing it like a pulse, something in Underrot, where you have a bunch of staggered health mobs. They ultimately get staggered just because of how you end up pulling Kragmaw's Room. You're just going to be chain touch of deathing targets, right?
I'm just rolling over to a critter and touch of deathing it to clear my stagger. I don't know about you. That's what I'm doing.
Or that, exactly.
Yeah. I don't know if that's going to work, but it might.
I will test.
Yeah. Suddenly all the critters are removed from all the dungeons.
I know where all the critters are in every dungeon. I need combo points. I need Fury or whatever.
I'm out here too, casting on every single
every
dungeon.
Flashback to the infested critter in Freehold.
Oh,
Shut up. Shut up.
Maybe that's the fix. Next season, Laphix doesn't do anything except for make every critter infested.
Oh,
Um,
Tettles not doing so well right here.
or just each time you kill a critter, you get a stack of leaden foot that doesn't go away.
Mr. Dratnos, I'm feeling kind of sick right now.
Brewmaster and Windwalker are getting both one-handed and two-handed as an option. Brewmaster also getting a ton of cool abilities here. Brewmaster, I think one of the specs that has the most awesome set of changes here. Shame Trell, not here to discuss them, but they're getting Shuffle. They're getting Celestial Brew, which I assume is going to replace Purifying Brew, but might be in addition to it. They're getting Clash, which is a half charge, half death grip. That is very, very cool. And they've got a bunch of new talents. Exploding Keg coming back. Invoke New Zao baseline, and it's reworked to deal damage based on stagger and also shoulder some of your stagger burden. So pretty cool. Let's go on to Paladin. Paladin is getting auras. All of them are getting sack. All of them are getting Shield of the Righteous and Word of Glory. They're all going back to Holy Power Builder Spenders. And that is a big set of changes for some of these specs. For Ret, it's not a huge set of changes, but for Holy and Prot, going back to Holy Power is a large change for rotations. My favorite thing here, actually, though, of all these changes is Shining Light, this new Prot talent. Crits with Judgment make your next Word of Glory free. That seems like it'll be really fun depending on what Word of Glory does next expansion.
Paladin has always been notoriously done good raid healing as well, so it kind of fits the theme.
Yeah.
They're kind of sacrificing their self-survivability for big raid healing.
Yeah, and that's actually... Seraphim is becoming a talent for all specs that is going to work like Prot Seraphim does now, where you can use it instead of Shield of the Righteous to get some secondary stats for a while.
I mean, I think Protection needed the most changes. They have been like middle to bad for such a significantly long period of time. It's kind of insane.
Yeah, hopefully it's.
I mean, all of the tanks have their glory days. Like even Vengeance is having like kind of like a
Vengeance
resurgence
glory
right
days
now.
are right now. Yeah, this is.
Yeah, exactly.
This is the year
Vengeance
of the
glory days
demon.
are right now. Vengeance also glory days. Last patch of Legion. Those were two very sick patches for Vengeance Demon Hunter. Paladin has not been good since it was good in Blackrock Foundry.
It was okay in Uldir as well. It just scaled really poorly this expansion.
It was okay in Uldir, yeah. It was okay in Bod too.
Yeah,
but it hasn't been like sick in a while.
Yeah, it's been good. It was good back in MOP as well, right? It's pretty good in like in Siege of Horizon, right?
It was sick all the way through MOP.
Yeah.
You bring a Paladin for its utility though, like when Bops needed, like you said, or Bubble or whatever. So
right, which I mean, hopefully it's just a good tank spec. That would be nice to see.
That would be
Priest is getting Mind Blast, Mind Soothe, Power Infusion, Death and Pain, all specs. My favorite set of changes, though, Disc Priest is getting a bunch of cool stuff. They're getting Shadow Covenant reworked to be a 5-target AoE heal that increases the damage the Priest deals for a short period of time, and they can't cast Holy Spells during that time. This is awesome. I think this is such a sick design for Shadow Covenant.
I think it is too, considering they're getting Shadow Word Death. Have you heard of a healer with an Execute?
Yeah, this is gonna own. And Mind Blast too. Mind Blast, expensive on mana, but extra damage and atonement healing and an absorb shield. I think this is gonna be really, really fun to play with these. Like knowing when to use these things. I think a good Disc Priest is gonna do nuts damage and healing with these.
Our healing officer Jada has mentioned like next expansion. I hope you're just ready for 5 Disc Priests because they're the only healer spec that looks like amazing right now.
Yeah, well, to be fair, they're the only healer spec that's really gotten like a lot of notes.
Yeah.
Most of these other healers, I think, have their notes still in the future, or have the big changes still coming.
Oh, also Power Infusion.
Yeah, yeah. Shadow is also getting Surrender to Madness, where it's back to the system where you die if you mess it up, but now instead of either you just dying at the end of it, you die if you haven't killed something during its duration. So that is cool. I think this is a cool design for Surrender to Madness as well. Likely to be very good if there are fights with ads where you can just kill one ad and stay alive. I think Surrender to Madness is gonna be strong. Rogues are getting Poisons and Shiv and Pickpocket baseline. For Assassination, Shiv is basically just gonna be Toxic Blade, but for the other specs, it's gonna be Shiv. Cool things though for Outlaw. Roll the Bones is going off of the finisher system and onto a cooldown system.
How do you feel about that?
Very good. I think that the old system of like your finisher is roll the bones until you have good buffs is kind of silly. I prefer it being you roll some buffs and you live with them for a while, and you're actually using finishers. So I think that is a good change on roll the bones.
I agree with that.
Between the eyes no longer stunning, but they are getting kidney shot in that space. Between the eyes now makes your foe more susceptible to crits for a while. Fine by me. Evasion is the new default defensive, and repost is an upgraded talent option. Upgraded here means you'll die to more stuff, so do not upgrade your evasion to repost. That's a mistake, because you can dodge more stuff than you can parry.
Well, what? Okay, so if it's talented like that, I would assume it comes with the DR, right?
Maybe, yeah. Maybe riposte will be worth talenting into for some things, but like right now, evasion is better than riposte. You can evade, you can dodge like Korgus shots, and you can't riposte them, for instance. So yeah,
who knows?
Nice for Outlaw.
We'll have to find out what's dodgeable and parry with all the new dungeons next expansion.
Yeah, it's rare that something is parryable but not dodgeable, though. That's very rare.
Sure.
Subtlety getting a lot of rework here. Find Weakness is going to be something that they can like multi-dot around, and then they can use Shadow Vault to AoE finisher, consuming all of them. That is really exciting. I'm looking forward to do that. That looks like a really fun play style. Shaman. Lots of changes to Shaman here. 70 abilities are going baseline for Shaman. Here, huge list of things that they're going to get. Both Elemental and Enhancement are no longer builder spenders. So Maelstrom is going away. Elemental is just going to build up stacks for either for Earthshock with Lightning Bolt or for Earthquake with Chain Lightning.
As our resident Ellie player and Enhanced player, how do you feel about that?
I like this. I like this change. For Ellie, I could take it or leave it. For Enhancement, I'm really excited about the list of changes here. Enhancement looks like it's going to be awesome to play. Where you're like, Enhancement, you're going to be building up stacks of Maelstrom Weapon, which is, you get to enough of them, and then you can instant cast something that normally has a cast time. And then you can instant cast Stormkeeper or, like one of these other abilities that normally, like Elemental Blast or whatever. And I think that's going to be a fun playstyle to play. So I don't know. I didn't mind Elemental Maelstrom, but I understand why they changed it. They changed it because Earthshock was your spender and did not feel good to press as a spender. It was like less impactful than pressing Lava Burst as a button, right? And if you have a builder spender, you want the spenders to be more impactful than the builder, and I think it's good it does make sense for them to take that away and go back to the old system of Elemental. So I'm medium on the Elemental changes and very excited about these enhancement changes. Resto Shaman, nothing really happening here yet. So again, aside from Disc, most of the healers haven't really gotten many notes. Resto Shaman, Earth Shield going baseline, and they're getting a talent that lets them consume Earth Shield to heal the target and AoE healing. But yes, it's not a lot here happening yet for most of the healer specs, actually.
Okay, so I think does there actually need to allow it to happen for all the healers? I feel like healers are fairly intricate right now.
I mean, I feel like Resto Shaman
disagree?
needs a DR for Mythic Plus. Like they need a tank cooldown for Mythic Plus.
I don't think functionally Resto Shaman will ever be a Mythic Plus spec, unfortunately, with how it heals. It's the same as
yeah. So I think that's a failure of the game. I think that the game should try and have all the specs work in Mythic Plus.
You would have to remove Spirit Link or something like that, right?
Talent replaces Spirit Link that gives you a tank DR.
Yeah, you'd have to change how Spirit Link functions, and you'd have to functionally change how Chain Heal works.
Just a talent that removes Spirit Link and gives you like a 1 minute Iron Bar or whatever.
So like Chain Heal would have to be able to be talented into like a hot.
Sure.
I think. Yeah.
Like these are changes that I think should be a priority. I think that it's a shame that people who want to do Mythic Plus and want to play Resto Shaman can't do both. I think that's something you should be allowed to do both those things.
I think they should have done more with Earthshield too. I feel like No Shaman was like, hell yeah, Earthshield. I mean, it's iconic to the spec, but I think they could have done a little more, maybe with that, the talents or something there.
Yeah, put some power into Earthshield. Make Earthshield Earthshield iconic Shaman ability, but make it own.
When it a talent that when it goes below 5 stacks, the target gets 10% DR for 5 seconds. So you want it to drop, then you replace it, and then it wanted to drop again, kind of thing. I don't know.
Yeah,
I think there's interesting gameplay there.
But again, most healer specs haven't gotten a lot of notes yet. I think that a lot of healer changes are hopefully still in the future.
In the works.
Yeah.
I mean, sure, and they may be.
All right, Warlock getting curses back, and not very much else changing here. Affliction's UA is changing to not be something that you spam onto targets. It's just a dot that you maintain now, it looks like.
What are Affliction Warlocks going to be spending on then?
Malefic Rapture, I guess, which is just, it damages for each dot that you have out, it damages that affected person. Looks like it's going to be probably their, spender filler thing. I actually don't know what they're going to spend soul shards on. Yeah, well, that kind of remains to be seen.
You're just generating now, Affliction. That's it. You're just generating infinite soul shards.
You're spending on Sow the Seed. Are you spending on Sow the Seeds?
Yeah, Seed of Corruption or Malefic Rapture. Yeah. Maybe Malefic Rapture will be a spender. Maybe. Demonology and Destro getting basically no changes, which I've seen a lot of demo and Destro locks not happy about this.
I love the demonology change. Okay, so first off, Dark Pact is like a talent that you convert like your health into your pet's health into the shield, but now it scales with spell power. Like, what a random change! And then wasn't there a Shadow Fury change?
Yep.
Yes. Oh yeah, Dark Fury increases the AOE of Shadow Fury. Like honestly, it should have just been Shadow Fury's instant cast. Like, what the fuck is that?
If you had pulled Demonology Warlocks and they were like, what parts of your kit would you like to see changes in? I believe that the bottom two answers would have been Dark Pact and Dark Fury. I think that would have been, they would have been hundreds of things on the list up there, and then Dark Pact and Dark Fury.
Number one would have been Kick, and then number two would have been KIC because they accidentally didn't spell kick correctly.
Yeah. Destro, also close to no changes here. Fire and Brimstone slightly buffed, but
pet AI.
This is not a case of us being like Wrestler Shaman. We think there might still be some changes on the way, but for Warlock, they said they were happy with Demo and Destro, and so they're not making major changes to those specs. So this is a different, here we can kind of expect less to happen to these specs.
Well, I think right now Destro is cool because of Azerite, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, Destro's good right now. It is good right now.
I mean, it's fun to play right now because of Azerite Essences, not necessarily because
it might get legendaries. Right? Like, I mean, expansion systems always get replaced by expansion systems, right? So the baseline might be okay. Warrior is getting a bunch of abilities baseline, including Challenging Shout. That's an AoE taunt, by the way. They are also getting Shattering Throw, which deals a bunch of damage against things that have an absorb shield. I wonder if it's still going to have the functionality of getting through immunities as well.
I believe so, because when we did the summary, it says now also deals, so
okay, yeah.
Assumption.
Arms is getting bunch of new stuff here. Deadly Calm, maybe going to give them a little bit of that Lucid playstyle, where for the next 4 abilities, they don't have a rage cost. So that might let them carry over the Lucid playstyle a little bit into the next expansion. Fury getting some AoE stuff, and Frothing Berserker going back to a Legion design where you proc it when you get to 100 rage. I love Frothing Berserker in Legion much more than in BFA, so I'm happy to see this change. Prot is getting some changes as well here. We've got a little bit going on. Yeah, nothing super major though.
Somebody was telling me though that now Arms has more baseline offensive cooldowns, or Prot has more baseline offensive cooldowns than Arms.
Interesting. Yeah, I could see that being true. Yeah. That's pretty wild.
It's like what's so fucking random.
All right. Anyways, that is the list here. That's our. Of course, this is not a comprehensive look, but this is the post. You can look through yourself. You can also read the blue post itself. In addition to the Wowhead summary, we'll have links to. Well, I'll probably just link the Wowhead summary in the description and stuff because I don't want to link twice the same thing. But you can find the blue post as well if you want to read all the Blizzard reasoning here. All in all, I think these class changes look good. The good is like throughout here. I'm happy with these changes. I think this is a good set of changes.
The ones that look complete look great, like DK and.
Yeah, the ones that have like 5 bullet points or more are almost all great bullet points, and then there are a couple of specs that just don't have enough bullet points yet, and hopefully more is to come. I'm hoping that they just haven't like solidified things they're still discussing, so they don't really want to announce anything yet. That kind of gets ripped out afterwards. So that's the hope. Yeah. So I guess to conclude here, the big fear we have for Shadowlands is the Covenant abilities. The Covenant abilities look like they're going to be creating a choice that feels negative and incentivizing us to play multiple classes or multiple characters of the same class rather than giving us an actual choice that feels good to make. So that is by far my biggest fear for Shadowlands right now. All of the actual abilities and stuff seen so far, all the aesthetics, all that stuff looks awesome, and everything else I'm hyped for. I need them to find a way to put my mind at ease about this Covenant system, because right now that is what I'm expecting to be the system that is broken in 9.0, broken in 9.1, pretty broken in 9.2, and fixed in 9.3. And I don't want another expansion of that.
Yeah. I mean, we didn't really discuss it, but just like with how they do tuning too, you pick Kyrian because it looks like the best for the first 2 weeks, and then Echoing Void gets nerfed 4 weeks in. And you're like,
yeah, dude.
Well, now Venthyr is the best. Sorry.
Well, the problem is that they're permanent decisions, right? Like, you're supposed to be making long-term decisions like purification of gear. Like, you're not really supposed to purify your Az, right? Or purify your corruption, but like, that is a choice that you're able to make.
And then they buff it 2 weeks later.
It's a non-reversible. Exactly, it's a non-reversible decision. But the hammer of buffs and nerfs can come at any time. But you made a permanent decision, so it's really awkward because of that.
Yeah. So I guess you have 12 days left on the 100% experience buff. Go ahead and level up your 3 other characters, everybody. Get ready. It's happening. Because I think there's a good chance that the kind of core design philosophy that Blizzard is... I have a feeling they're not going to get away from this. The core philosophy of this choice being permanent. So
really,
I'm
worried. You don't think they're gonna?
I hope that they do. I hope that they find a way to make this not the incentive. But I'm going to prepare for the I'm going to prepare for the world that it looks like they're going to give us here.
I'm a little optimistic about it. They listened about the account-wide essences and all that kind of stuff recently. It might come a little late, but I have some optimism there after them listening.
Well, I mean, they did also listen about Azerite Reforged costs eventually as well.
A little, but
yeah, I mean, it's still exponential increase. It's just they change it to decaying daily 3 times faster.
Account-wide essences, corruption drop rate got a little better later on. They might try to make it a little bit of, like you said, a 1-hour quest line or something, but I don't think they'll go all the way. I'm hoping they'll make a compromise.
Yeah. Definitely would I happy to compromise here. Anything where I don't feel like I need 4 characters in the same class, please. That is what I would like to avoid. But
I would love to see your naming convention for them.
Yeah, I gotta. It's 48 total characters or total characters on my account. I'm gonna need now. Gotta get ready. Gotta get to making those.
He's just gonna start removing the R. It's just gonna be Ratnos.
Tratnos, Ratnos, Atnos.
Oh, the D, sorry, not the R.
Anyways, that is all we have time for this week. We will be back next week. Probably not at this exact time. We will tweet when our exact time will be and stuff. But it'll probably be Wednesday shows for the next 6 weeks or so. But I think
I think we're planning on having a guest. Maybe not.
We'll see.
TBD.
We'll see what that plan is with that. Yeah, Trell probably is still going to be busy with MDI stuff then, especially because that'll be the weekend right before, or the couple days before his cup. So that is the plan. Hope you guys have enjoyed, and thanks for bearing with us as we have this very busy time. Bye, everybody. Bye.
Later.